On Saturday, March 1st, I'll be hosting an online event titled Dancing with Darkness, a virtual descent into the vital mystery of light and shadow. This gathering offers a rich opportunity to meaningfully explore the primordial dance of light and shadow, with visionary talks from Ganga Devi Braun and Daje Alo, past guests of the project, and a live conversation between myself and Samuel Adams, soon to be featured on the project. Together we will journey through the life-giving interplay of these wild forces, offering reverent reflections, soulful stories, stirring insights, and interactive Q&A sessions where you can engage directly with the themes shared. A recording will be available with every ticket purchase, allowing you to revisit the content at any time. So, follow the link in the show notes and join us for this virtual descent into the vital mystery of light and shadow. Welcome to Wild Heart Revival, a gathering place for heartfelt conversations and stories as pathways of renewal and revival. I'm your host, Tay Tayari, and today's guest is Huaira. In this intimate and soulful conversation, Huaira shares the essence of her artistry, exploring what it means to live in devotion to creativity, self, and earth. We journey through some of the sacred landscape of her life, touching on the joys and challenges of answering the soul's calling, honoring natural cycles, and embodying artistry as both a healing force and an act of resistance. Reflecting on the intricate interplay of joy and grief, the responsibility of self-love, and the power of music to save and sustain, Huaira shares wisdom drawn from Indigenous perspectives, the dance of light and dark, and the art of witnessing the divine. Through her words, she offers a prayer for humanity's harmonization with Earth, guided by curiosity, humility, and a shared commitment to future generations. Huaira is a mestiza woman from Ecuador, a mother who sings in gratitude for life, guided by the natural cycles of Earth. She moves through an inner exploration of ritual, art, and healing. A poet and storyteller, sun dancer and vision quester, Huaira walks with humble curiosity, sharing her gifts across many lands. She seeks inspiration in every relationship, carrying a deep reverence for our interbeing. She prays for less judgment and more love, for we are all related. If you are new to the show, you might like to know that I am a threshold counselor with an online practice dedicated to supporting wanderers, wanderers, and edgewalkers. I offer individual, couples, and group counsel, as well as support around death and dying. To learn more, visit my website through the link in the show notes. I also offer free insight calls, which provide a risk-free opportunity for us to connect, explore our alignment, and determine if we're a good fit to walk alongside each other during a pivotal time in your life. I'm generally open to connecting via email and video chat if you feel naturally drawn to do so, whether for guidance, curiosity, collaboration, or any other meaningful reason. So feel free to reach out anytime. And if you haven't yet, I invite you to subscribe to Wild Heart Revival on your preferred podcast platform, and know that your likes, comments, ratings, and shares are not only deeply appreciated, they are vital for supporting the organic growth of these heartfelt conversations and stories. Now, let's humble ourselves enough to allow the creative pulse of life to naturally guide us in becoming the true artists that we are, so that we can make beautiful ruins together with our dear guest, Huaira. What does being an artist mean to you?
Well, it means that I'm alive. Being an artist, I truly feel that. It's like I get to breathe, I get to expand my lungs through this expression of life. And And it's truly so inspiring that I then get to give it back in some way, and it is through my art. It's kind of like the possibility of inhaling and exhaling. I feel my exhalation is my artistry, is how I give back to this life. And I I mean, yeah, this is who I am. I wouldn't do it differently, I guess.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. So I'm hearing that it's your active participation in reciprocity in
Hmm.
relationship with life.
It is. It is. It's like I get to see. I mean, some friends laugh at me because I'm just like, it's like truly so magical. Everything that surrounds us all the time, constantly, all the time.
Yeah.
And it's super inspiring. It's like there's no way that when I don't know, it's very difficult for me to. It's rare that I'm not in a creative state, you know? Like, and
Mm,
when that happens, I'm really like, have you stopped like bowing at the magnificent life that you have around you? You know, have you stopped being in gratitude? Is that why you're not creative right now? 'Cause I
mm,
feel it's such a constant flow of input, you know, information that is coming through our life. And I feel this is why I do believe that we're all artists, you know, because we all get to experience life through this amazing gift that it is. And then however we're giving back our breath is becoming part of that tapestry that again is being weaved and again is recreating other things, whether or not we're seeing it, you know.
hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Really well said. So has it always been like that? Did you always know you're an artist? Like maybe you could give us a bit of an understanding of how young Huaira walked.
Yeah, very young. Well, I'll but let me get the lighter right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was yeah, I've been an artist, I guess, all my life since I was a very little girl. My dad said that I started singing when I was about 2 weeks, that he would like hum a sound. I was like laying on his chest and I was 2 weeks old. And he would do, mm, and I would answer,
Mhm.
He would do it all the time and I would respond. And he was like, it was amazing because you were 2 weeks old and you were already answering to this melody. And I mean, by the time I was two, I was already every Christmas or any family event, I was the one singing all the songs and being super playful and artistic and very much of a clown. I grew up being kind of the clown of the family and my friends, and yeah. So it was never an issue for me to be with an audience, or I loved it since I was a very little kid. I loved to express who I was and share things in school, and of course music was something that has been with me since I was a very little girl.
Mm, mm. So it sounds like, I mean, that's why you're here. And as far as I can tell and understand, to bring our gifts to life and to really connect with our soul's purpose here on this plane, that
Mhm.
there tends to be moments of questioning, if not questioning, moments of struggle, challenge, resistance. Have you experienced that at all, or has it just been a clear path?
I mean, of course I've experienced it, you know, because again, I guess recognizing that we're so alive is difficult, you know, and
Mm,
there's moments where things show up and it's like, am I standing really for what I believe in? Am I like fighting the right fight? Am I
mm,
showing up in the best way? Am I being congruent, you know, with my words? Am I and I mean, I knew I was gonna sing since I was a little girl, is what I love the most. And I studied music since I was a very little girl, you know, but it was later on when I decided that this was gonna be all of it, you know, that I was gonna dedicate my life to this fully. So in those moments of choosing that, of course there was struggle, you know, like quitting my job. I was an Ayurveda teacher and like doing music later at night. And those moments of course showed me like, okay, how much do you want this? You know, how much are you really willing to give everything for it, as and so yes. And I guess through those moments is when you gain more strength, and also recognizing yourself, and your power and your truth. And I acknowledge I like those moments where I feel a bit like off, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially reflecting upon them and realizing how potent those moments were for really forging our gifts or our offerings or our skills, our
Mhm.
qualities and character. Yeah. How do you know you're fighting the right fight? You said
Well,
words.
I've had certain it's interesting because we live in this world, this crazy world where we're watching all these things through our screens, and I stand for so many things, yet it's not my reality, my current reality within my field here, right here, And I've been questioning, like, okay, so if this is like happening on the other side of the world, how am I showing up in this current fight that is completely connected to that one, even though here there's no bombs landing around me, and I'm so blessed, Yet, what are those walls that I'm building within myself that are separating myself from the people that I love? What are those walls that I'm constructing in order to not be fully true? Where am I still judging, So then I'm standing there, with this fight that I pretend to be fighting, and then yet within me I'm still judging. I'm still like not being congruent, And so
Mm,
it's fully, I mean, to me it's that, it's how do I show up for this fight within myself? Where am I standing strong so that I can really raise my voice for something that is even greater than my own purpose?
mm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about that. I'm particularly interested in how you're describing these walls within. Actually, I was reading a reflection that you wrote, and I grabbed a couple sentences because I thought it was a really potent inquiry. So maybe I'll share that to deepen this for you, for us. You said, "I recognize myself as a very sensitive being. I can be loud and strong, and somehow I feel it all. And one of my teachings in this lifetime is to embrace that power and the possibility of transmuting through this territory of mine what I am able to hold space for. I'm a mother and a dreamer. I'm a lover, and I sing of pleasure and gratitude for this life. The more I honor this territory, the more I question the walls and borders I have built within me."
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so what does it really mean to honor the territory within yourself?
I mean, I love taking care of myself. I'm devoted to this territory of mine. I work out every day, I run, I climb the mountains, I'm sitting in ceremony, I'm singing, I'm dancing. I feel that self-love is really truly an activist is point, It's like the more I plant within me, the more I can show up for what I'm really standing for, the collective, And and as I said before, it's so easy in our daily lives to build these walls, to not show up in our full trust, It's like, why do we have to be so closed in certain ways, which being closed, okay, I'm going to frame this. Lately we hear a lot of like, oh, I want to be more open, I want to be more open, I want to open my heart, I want to.
Mm,
Our heart naturally is open. We
mm,
are open beings, What I call in more within me, it's protections, and I feel the best protections truly comes through my thoughts.
mm,
And so I don't want to build walls that don't allow me to be that open being, that loud being, that dreamer, that giver. Yet I want to protect myself. So how do I protect my territory? I protect it by being within me, and being truthful to my source, and my energy. And then I find myself again in certain moments where I judge certain things, I'm like, why is that happening? Like, why is this happening? And it's in horrible things, that of course we would judge in a way, and like, it's like, why is this happening? And then I don't want to judge those people for the choices they're taking. I rather stand in a place of like holding space even for that violence, and holding space for that painful heart, that it's like standing in a place of like gigantic walls, so big the walls that you don't even care what you're doing on the other side.
Mm.
And so I feel being alive and caring for this territory that we inhabit, it's the only way to truly dissolve those walls and acknowledge that we're all like, we're sharing the space, and we're sharing a big space, a big womb where there's really no walls. We're all breathing the same air. The same air. We're drinking the same water. It's not water that comes from somewhere else that it's being poured on the earth. It's the same water from the beginning of time, and the fire is the very sun on this earth. It's like we're all sharing the space. Yet we create these walls in our own territory, and we don't get to just be in love with everyone and with everything.
Mm. Yeah. So I'm hearing that it's some kind of delicate or creative, subtle balance to strike, because what you're sharing is actually very mature, which is no surprise to me. But it's this sense that I'm an open being fundamentally. My heart is open. It's connected to the living world, and at the same rate, I need to maintain boundaries of protection for myself and for my immediate surroundings. I need to maintain a dynamic integrity that's responsive to life in the animate world, which doesn't always have our best interests in mind. And so this balance of openness and protection or guardianship is a very creative and subtle one. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about that, if anything is present for you.
I mean, I learned through an incredible mama, Norma, and she told me once, she said, Juanita, you can come here to ceremony wearing your belt and carrying your crystals and bringing everything you want. Yet, truly, your only protection is your thoughts. Where you're putting your attention, that's being
Mm,
manifested, whether you have an amazing belt or not. And
mm,
so I feel the more like naked we are with ourselves, in all the ways, and what really truly means to be naked, to show up in our essence, and standing clear with what we're calling in from our thoughts and our attention, because we're feeding it. We're putting our attention there, and we're feeding that, and then that is being manifested within us. Then we get sick. We start feeling certain things and we're off. Sometimes we're just thirsty, and we don't realize it because we're so disconnected. All we needed was a glass of water.
mm,
And so I feel that in this path that I've been walking, I've learned, first of all, to really recognize my strength and how capable I am to really push the limits of my own body, standing very strong through my mind, okay, this is what you're doing right now, Juanita. You're not going to drink water for several days. You're going to dance strong. And you have a very strong intention that is bigger and greater than your own life. And it's just, it's beautiful to tap into that very thin line of where the body meets the spirit, or the spirit dances with the body. And we're spirit beings, it's funny when people say, well, the spiritual community. I'm like, dude, we're all spiritual beings, there's not like a spiritual community. And it's not a new age thing either. This is very old. This has been happening, and our consciousness is going to be there forever because there's one consciousness. But then we have a body. We do have an individual territory.
mm,
And through this possibility, we get to experience the universe in a very individual way, yet we're all made of the same.
mm,
So how is that I'm going to show up in that very strong inner relationship with this lover of mine that I am, so that I can truly fall in love fully with me, so that then I can really show up in the best way in all my love and relationships. And so, yeah, I guess it's like, it's it's very personal to everyone, because we only know ourselves in that way, just us, there's no other way of getting to see who we are but through our own sense. And so through that, I feel every manifestation is it's possible, and it's available and it's also accepted somehow, which is weird because there's weird stuff and there's bad things, yet we get to express ourselves through that ways too, and that is a human expression too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that reflection. I'm thinking about how because there's this obvious self-love that you've been cultivating throughout your life, and I wish that more people were more dedicated to that, because as far as I can tell, there's some kind of epidemic of self-love, self-acceptance, and I think a lot of it has to do with not really having the capacity, the space, the support to feel like willing enough to craft the skills necessary for loving oneself in today's day of age, which is super stressful, fast-paced, anti-life in many ways. So yeah, so I'm really happy to hear that you have a really big focus on that in your life. And it made me think about how I was reading something somewhere, maybe it was on your Bandcamp page. You said that, did you say singing or music has saved your life many times? Which makes me think that obviously singing, music, artistry is a huge part of loving yourself. And I just wonder if you'd feel comfortable sharing one of those times, one of those experiences. So that's a big statement, save my life. And I can understand that in my own way. And I think we'd all appreciate the kind of motivation that might come through you sharing a story along those lines.
Well, I mean, I feel there's certain sentiments that, at least for me, I can only express them through sound. And there's been moments of my life where I've been really sad. And singing was like always available. It was something that was never leaving myself, because it's my own breath, it's with me. And I can think of many. I can think of ceremonies where I've been on the floor, like, oh my God, like praying for my life, and singing was what brought me up, and it was just like, okay, you're here. This is your service, beyond what you're going through right now. You're here because you sing, and you're singing for yourself, yet you're singing for a family. And so, like, get your shit together, woman, and like do your thing, do your work, do your part. And yeah, when I'm singing, when I'm like in that space of my voice, there's nothing in between me and the great mystery, I mean, there's never anything between us and the great mystery. Yet when I'm singing, I fully feel it, there's like no thoughts coming in. There's no anticipation of anything, which is beautiful. Like, I get to sing in ceremonies and we're drinking medicine, and of course I sing songs that I know, but then I love to just like, what is going to come through, and I just get to open my mouth, and whatever wants to come through, it's happening. And I feel that there's this beautiful song by Alonso del Rio where he says that that en cada muerte hay un nacer, por eso duele estar tan vivo. In every death, there is a birth. This is why it hurts so much to be alive. And I recognize that art is one of, I feel is the healing, the best healing tool there exists, When we get to express ourselves through art, we get to cross those boundaries of pain, of sorrow, of really uncomfortness, of struggle. I mean, how many beautiful songs comes out of a heartbreak, like how many beautiful songs come out of a terrible war, like singing is something that has been in our lives for so long. Music, painting, crafting, I don't know, so many things. And so I do recognize the artistry that I carry with me as a healing modality, and and as my sword, you know. It's like something that is like fighting with me, fighting for me, and also allowing me to kill myself if that is what it is, you know, to just allow that to just be what crosses my heart and towards what needs to be given, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's making me think of this quote. I forget who said it, but she said, the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that way, it's a way of life, you know? Because I was just thinking when you're sharing there, like if you're an artist, your life is your art. And it's just that you find certain ways of expressing your life through certain modalities, as you said, or yeah, certain modes of art. But that's just like an extension of your life force, your
Mhm.
spirit, your soul. Yeah. Mm. And so your music's incredible, by the way. I need to say
Mm,
that.
thank
Thinking
you.
about like just so good.
Mm,
Thank you for taking the immense amount of time to craft your particular kind of expression in that way. It's a real gift to the world,
mm,
truly. Yeah.
thank
Uh,
you.
And in your music, there's this like palpable sense of connection to earth and the sacredness of life. There's this kind of invitation to remember something ancient and deeply animate, alive. And so I wonder how you, what feels present for you at this time in your life in terms of continuously cultivating a deep sense of reverence for the wild, for the wildness of earth and its rhythms in your creative process. And what role do you see music playing in connecting or reconnecting us to land?
Well, as I was saying before, I feel this life is so inspiring. Um, for instance, when I get to be near a source of water, it's like there's so many songs that I hear. It's just infinite melodies. Like just I get to sit next to a source of water and just like and all these things, just like all these melodies come, you know, and watching a fire, you know, it's like they're all speaking to us all the time, you know, like we we tend to feel that we're so independent, and this whole movement of like, oh, I'm self-sufficient, and we're so dependent, you know, we are completely dependent
Absolutely.
on this
100%.
sacred four
Yeah,
masters, you know.
yeah.
And we get to find that mastery within us, because like I get to I mean, we get to experience this, like, I don't know, we crave for like finding a master in our lives, you know, a teacher that is going to teach us something, yet the really truly only teacher that we have is ourselves, you know. But
Mm.
then through that relationship with us, how do I relate with these sacred masters that are within me, you know, this air, this fire, this earth, this water that I carry with me? And then how do I develop that relationship, you know? And so I am in complete reverence to what, you know. Now today we were like sunbathing in the morning. I'm like, she was like, oh, my sister, my friend, she was like, I've been craving like to go in the wild and be in nature and like, you know, my wild women. I'm like, women, right now, us here with our legs open to the sun, this is wild, you know. We're like receiving this sun in our yoni, and we're getting this
Yeah.
fire within us, and we're just like experiencing ourselves. And I I give myself that time in every, like, through the day, you know. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm like trying to witness around me what is talking to me, you know. And sometimes we're so rushed and we don't get to hear it because
Mm.
we're like doing other things. Yet everything is having a relationship, very direct relationship to us. And So I feel a way of like developing that is to just be present, to be present through our breath, to be present in our dreams, to be present when you're showering, like, thank you, water, agüita, what I feel right now when you touch my skin. May I remember this sensation when I'm fasting from you. May I imprint the sensation of your body within mine when I don't get to drink from you. And so I feel it's like kind of like we're making commitments and pacts, kind of like, okay, now I'm a tent. I'm going to go and do my thing, but I'll be back. We're going to meet each other again, and we're going to keep this conversation. And I guess it's like a really beautiful, fun game.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, the body is a portal.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hearing is that we fundamentally need to have an inquiry of like, what is my so-called self? Because you're saying I'm my greatest teacher. And so it's like, okay, so my body, the portal of my being, and my particular self is the entryway, the doorway into greater connection with source, spirit, life, the elements. And so for me, I work with, I'm a counselor, and so I work with people in therapeutic relationships, and I have a strong focus always on like, how do you define yourself? How do you know yourself? And there's so many layers to it, and people tend to start with very kind of civilized, colonial, egoic definitions of self. And if you inquire more deeply and you keep descending into those layers, eventually people recognize, whoa, I am the fire, I am the water, I am the air. And if they're feeling extra risky, I am the spirit, you know? And when you start to really sense that, then your whole life changes.
Mm.
Your whole life changes because you all of a sudden are not separate. You can't be if you really understand that, So you really re-embed yourself, you reconnect yourself into the web of life in a profound way when you truly recognize that and take that on. And then that calls forth responsibility, right?
Mm.
And so how do you see that responsibility in your life? I get kind of a sense, but I'd like to hear what comes up for you now.
I love that word. I love responsibility. I love that word. And because for instance, I feel it is our responsibility to be happy. If your life is so blessed and really, truly you live this incredible life, and as I do, at least, it is my responsibility to celebrate. I need to stand in celebration, even when I don't want to, I need to show up. I need to be like, thank you. I see it. I see the magic, and so I feel that the more we get to sit with the beauty that we are, and also the not that beautiful situations that we are, we choose truthness as our main source of responsibility. How much am I being truth to myself? How much am I like really seeing myself with all of it, without saying, oh, I'm not this, and I don't want to see that right now. I rather stay in this like super light space of like depth, or like super, how do I say this? It's like I feel a beautiful way to understand ourselves in that space of responsibilities, to be to integrate all the parts, to recognize them all and not dismiss any of them, and not like hide any of it, but just be true and being like, I am actually being responsible with it because I'm seeing it, and I know it can be better. I know I can improve this situation. I know I can do things in a more impeccable way. And of course, I mean, we are our best teachers, yet we do get to be inspired by amazing other beings around us, which that doesn't take away that we don't have incredible masters in our life. We do. I'm inspired by so many people. And as Carmen Vicente, an incredible mama from here, from Ecuador, one ceremony, she said, I'm inspired by every encounter because I get to inspire myself with things that I want to recreate. And then I'm inspired by things I don't want to do. I see certain things in other people that's not what, but they inspire me to not go that path.
Yeah.
So I feel that's when our responsibility truly shows up, like how much am I willing to really follow what I'm speaking about and what I want to raise as a flag. And then sometimes we're not that responsible, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to also do the thing and to get entangled in the way and to stumble upon certain things that are not that good sometimes, and it's all okay. It's all good.
Yeah, it's inevitable because
Yeah.
responsibility is the ability to respond. It's the art of responsiveness, which, because it's an art, you have to craft it, which means you have to go through the muck of doing it the way you don't want to do it, probably more than you would ever ask for, but that's what really carves out your unique style of responsiveness, which is true to you and is unique to you on purpose, because not everyone's here to respond to life the same way. Life wouldn't be life if that was the case. But I love this idea of turning toward life, not turning away from life, because when we turn away, I would say that's reacting. That's more like reactivity. There's a fear, there's an uncertainty, something of that nature, and so we turn away to protect ourselves, which is interesting because it's responsivity and the turning toward and having the courage to feel the layers and the depths of life life has to offer that allows us to be responsive. And it reminds me of what you said in that quote I shared, that you're here to feel it all. So yes, celebration and happiness is a responsibility when you've been gifted such a beautiful life as you live and as I live. At the same rate, is it also a responsibility to grieve and to descend? And I'd be curious to hear what comes up for you around that.
We only get to know what celebration and joy is because we've been on the other side. If not, we wouldn't know what it is,
Yeah.
So, for instance, now with like this whole situation happening in Palestine and Israel and Syria and like all these things, like I've been grieving like hardcore. I've cried so much. There's been so many nights that I wake up in the middle of the night, I light my pipe, I pray. I'm like, I'm preparing food and then I have to stop and I cry in my kitchen and I'm like, I see my kids and then I envision if it was my kids, and so many hours of conversations with family, with friends, just like all of us crying, and really feeling, what can we do? What can we do from so far away? We get to share this post. It's so weird that we get to witness this, and then we just share a post of someone on the other side, and it's a weird life. It's just a very strange life that we get to experience, and especially now with all like social media and instant Wi-Fi and communication, and so we get to experience this, like, as my sister Emily said, is like an oscillation of joy and grief all at once. It's like we go from this super hype moments with friends and family, and then we know this is happening because we're all connected, even though we're not watching it, and even though there's people that don't even care and they don't want to witness it. It's happening to all of us. It's happening to all of us. I mean, that pain is happening in the tapestry where we're all connected.
Yeah.
And so now there's a lot of threads that are cut and that are sharp and that are burned and that are hurting, and it's hurting the core of us all. And so I get to leave it all. I get to experience it. I feel it. And I'm a very intense woman. I don't hide from the circumstances. I'm not afraid of going deep in the dark. I'm not. Like, lately I've been, well, not recently, but it's been a while where I pull out my deck, my archetype deck from Kim Krans, and the card that I was pulling out was the underworld and the underworld and the underworld. And a friend of mine was laughing and she was like, well, Guairita, we all know that that's the place you like to walk in. And it is. I mean, the closer we get to be in those spaces of our like shadow, I mean, there's this beautiful phrase where it says that the closer the object is to the light, the taller the shadow that it casts.
Mm.
And so we get to be in that space of like the full on darkness, so that light can be seen. If I light a candle right now here, it wouldn't be possible. So I do grieve as a ceremony. Grief is part of my experience of this life. And I don't cut myself with any tears of if I need to purge. And I need to purge intentionally, like I go deep into dark spaces in a responsible way, I feel.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just reminded me of a quote from Robert Bly where he says, the candle is not lit to give light, but to testify to the night.
Qué lindo. A ver, can you repeat it?
The candle is not lit to give light, but to testify to the night.
Wow, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
Mm. Yeah, this has been a near and dear topic for me lately because I've actually been quite sad lately. I've been going through kind of a more prolonged period of sadness and grief than I have in a while. And there's many different elements to that. But also some of the clients I'm working with right now have been really going through it, much deeper than me even. And so I can see how I'm how I'm companioning them through that and how that's affecting me too. But I'm also having my own experience. But so this topic of underworld and darkness has been feeling just more and more present lately. And I came across, do you know who Bayo Komalafe is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, he's an incredible man. I actually interviewed him. It was the first interview I did for this project. But he's an incredible teacher. And I read his book, These Wilds Beyond Our Fences, a couple months ago. And I came across this quote that I've just every time I read it, it blows me away. And I want to share it with you and hear, oh, cute. Is this one of those hairless dogs?
Yeah.
Oh, cutie. I love how he has like a patch of hair on the top of his head. That's amazing.
It's a she.
She. What's her name?
Rania.
Rania. Beautiful. Okay, so Bio says, darkness is not the absence of light, as we've been forced to believe. It is the very dance of light. It is light in rapturous contemplation of herself, in poetic adoration of her own contours and sensuous nuances. And we will never see this except we join her, unless we marvel at her rapid steps, unless we get caught up with her in her festive charade of realness, in her chaotic performance, in her heady spin, in full embrace of her extravagant, sweaty waltz. For when we do, we will realize that shadows are merely the spaces she has tenderly left for us to place our feet.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It brings a lightness to it, that we can dance with the darkness, that it can be a celebration too. And it's all about the perspective, am I being taken under and torn apart and covered over, or am I being taken under to celebrate that other side of the spectrum, to dance with grief, to be in that sweaty waltz with the darkness, as he says.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This past weekend I went to a celebration here in Ecuador that has been going for hundreds of years now, I guess.
Mm.
It's called La Diablada. So it's indigenous resistance uh, uh, celebration, where they were like in resistance for the Spanish colonizers, when they arrived here.
Mm.
And it's 6 days in Pijaro, in land in the mountains, where there's a parade of devils,
Wow.
hundreds of devils, hundreds, hundreds. Like,
Wow.
I'll send you pictures and videos. It's crazy, with like music, and they're just like with this enormous masks of demons, each one more weird and horrible than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like in the middle of the city, and everyone, like, a parade, and they're just going, and they get to like flirt with the girls and do the thing and serve you alcohol and dance, and all the little kids are like, look at the devil, look at that other devil, look at the, and it's this, like, of course Catholics came here and they were like, oh, the demon, and like, you're gonna go to hell. And so the indigenous were like, we're gonna bring a bunch of demons for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is not how we see the devil.
Right.
This is not how we've witnessed that energy.
Mm-hmm.
For us here, the devil, the demons are a mirror. They're the endless possibility of our own existence. It's like they get to come and be our mirrors of like what is like triggering us, what is like opening for us to witness about ourselves, so we get to dance with the devils. There's so many songs where we call in for the devils. I have a demon in my altar, and for some people it's like, oh, there was a whole situation with some people from Ukraine one time in a ceremony with a friend. He had the devil in his altar, and they went nuts because they thought he was like worshiping the devil. And then
Right.
he was like, no, where I come from, this is a masterful being, and we want him close, we want her close. We don't want this to be pushed away. And
Mm.
so, of course, we want to dance with that energy. If as I said before, how can we witness joy and celebration if we haven't witnessed the other part? So we want to witness the divine, and we want to be in that state of that glorious space. We have to dance with the most dark spaces within us, and
Mm.
I actually love to see myself in those dark spaces, because it's usually times where I get to also choose, like, oh, I'm there right now,
Yeah.
and I can go that way, but I'm also witnessing that I have this other possibility.
Mm.
And it's kind of like, like the Native Americans, the Heyoka, like, and it's like this one that comes kind of like to disrupt, and it's a very difficult character to pursue in this lifetime. The one that becomes that, they have a hard life, because they're choosing to be something really strong for the family, and for themselves, of course, because it's something we don't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel the more and more we get to, if we go again in the topic of war and like this, like complicated conflicts, as they call them, and truly is a very simple conflict. We're like here completely in our minds. We're not able to see beyond, and we are super afraid of our possibilities, and we are afraid of that like inner judge and that shadow. And so we get to put it all out in the most expansive way, because we haven't really truly danced with it.
Yeah.
So we want to just explode it, because we haven't really flirt with what that possibility is, where we get to choose, the other way.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, I have a lot. I have many threads there, that are present. I'm trying to gather myself. I'm thinking about how Christianity, Catholicism, how you you brought it up there, and how there's this obsession with ascension, so much so that in many Christian traditions, the focus is on the afterlife. Like, this is just a a moment to get to that place, you know. And so then there's this inherent neglect of Earth and the wildness of Earth. And I think that then instills, it solidifies that fear of the darkness, because the creative forces of Earth are not, they're completely balanced. You know, as we've been saying, dark and light are like perfectly balanced, at least when things are, you know, going well in harmony. And so there's this like inherent turning away in the Christian faith from Earth. And so then in that turning away, I would say that a shadow behavior is to control. And so then we see how the Christian tradition played a huge role in colonization, which had everything to do with control. And a lot of that control had to do with controlling the things that they feared, controlling things that didn't make sense, that didn't fit into their paradigm. And we can see too the conflicts in the Middle East, as we've been kind of touching on, that there's also this intense need to control. You can see how the landscape around that area has been completely decimated.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of gathering my thoughts and thinking, turning away from Earth and the sacredness of life and being in reciprocal communion with life, seeking balance and harmony with life, not with just human communities, but with the more than human, that when you turn away from that, then that actually breeds the imbalanced shadow, that breeds the conflict that's so not in resonance. I'm reading this amazing book on Native American wisdom, and there's a section. Have you heard of Oyesa? I think
No.
it's Oyesa. He's this amazing scholar, writer, I think in the 19th century, where he was raised, I think, by the Americans to learn how to read and write, and he became really proficient in it. But he also had one foot in the more traditional life, and he was raised traditionally with the Indigenous folks, and I think he's Lakota or Sioux. Anyway, he was talking about conflict, traditional conflict and warring amongst the native peoples. And it just sounds so different to what we think of war as now. Like, people would fight sometimes, for sure, but the idea wasn't that you were there to destroy the opponent. You definitely would never take their land. You wouldn't take their goods. If you killed someone, in his tradition, if you killed anyone, you'd have to grieve for 30 days, loosen your hair, cover your face in black, in ashes and soot, and you'd have to grieve for 30 days for that one person you killed. And that wasn't the point. You weren't trying to kill people, but sometimes it had to happen depending on the conflict. And I'm just thinking that kind of conflict comes from a more balanced and harmonious state of being, a state of being that's in reciprocal communion with the wilds. And so I'm just trying to like piece all these different thoughts together that, and I guess I could summarize it as, is it the turning away from our mother Earth that leads to these kinds of conflicts, like fundamentally?
I mean, there's this, it brought this, reminded me of, I don't know how it's said, the phrase, but my brother, Aubrey Marcus, he says that there's this, in Hebrew, there's a phrase where you say that you're turning your face away from God. And I remember asking him, I was like, is there a phrase for saying that you're turning away from the mother?
Yeah.
And he said, well, the mother is God.
Yeah.
But then he said, but no, there should be like a word for turning away from the mother, you know? And it also now connected some dots with, I feel the moment we believed that we could own her, you know, that we could own the territory of the mother, a lot of conflict started, you know? the moment we didn't realize that we were part of it, and we believed we could own land, and this is my territory, and I'm we completely detach from like recognizing who's giving us the life, who is providing for us, and we are like becoming the owners, of certain things, and we want to keep certain things for ourselves, and we want to grow our fortune, and we want to. And so, yeah, I mean, these inner conflicts within us in our own territory with scarcity and fear are reflected into these places where we want to come and conquer, which even that word is so weird. Like the conquerors, it didn't come with some flirty sensation, it was like completely devastating, and it was actually coming very masculine and very aggressive and very like not respective to what the mother has been here providing for us. Oh, I don't know if you watched the movie The Mother.
No.
Oof,
I should. The
you
Mother.
should watch it. The Mother.
I'm going to take a note right now.
Yeah, The Mother. I mean, and I think there's a few, but this one is, I'll send you the
Was it in 2023? It was made? Anyway.
What is the actress? Jennifer something.
Yeah, Jennifer Lopez?
No.
Oh, okay.
Jennifer Lawrence, I think, is the.
Oh, okay.
There's another one. Well, I'll send you the one. This is it's like it's very strong, very beautiful, and
I'll put it in the show notes too, so people listen.
And it's and it kind of speaks about that, it's like, how do we inhabit the territory of our mother, and what have we done with this beautiful life that is here for us, and then we're fighting each other, and we're like just killing each other, and we're completely in a mind story, because that's it, when I see this gigantic conflicts, it's such a mind game. And of course our mind is so deep and entangled that it can be a whole world, a whole movie there. And if we just trust that, we're completely detached from the natural cycles of life, like now New Year starts, and everybody's like, oh, I'm going to start with my New Year's intentions, and truly it's winter time. We're not like truly starting anything. It's actually a time where we're calling in for that return of the sun. From the solstice that just passed, this is what we're calling in. It's the darkest night, and from there on, the sun will come more and will come more and will come more and more till it's fully there, until the seeds are sprouting, and we get to harvest that again in spring, and then we truly begin the new year. So we are detached from the natural cycles, and that's very popular here. They come to sell things, and so I do feel that one of the main things that we need to call in as a human family is to go back to this natural cycles, as our elders did, as our ancestors walked. They were so close to the I mean, their relationship to life was so close, because they needed to eat, they needed to harvest the food for the family. So it was not a mind game, it was a life game. It was like, how do we do this for us? How do we, oh, now the moon is doing this, now the sun is gonna pass, and they were so precise that they get to build incredible gigantic things just by measuring the sun. They were dedicating their lives to look to the sky.
Yeah.
And we've forgotten, and it's okay, it's what it is. We're like in this moment of like not being very responsible, and maybe we might not see it. I still have hopes that I will, but I know that our children, our grandchildren will. I have hope for our humanity. I'm in love of my humanity. I know we're going to do this. I know we will do it. We're just going into this really hard moment right now, and there's been other hard moments that we thought we couldn't deal with, and then we did. And so I don't know, like so many cosmovisions, they talk about like the frozen times, or it comes in different places, times where everything was frozen, where the big waters came and they just covered everything, and then after that we all came back, and we've been doing this for so long. This is not the first time we've come out of complete extinction, and so we're just going to remember it more and more, I guess. We're going to be more clear the next time. We're going to be like, oh, I've been here before. And I'm going to do it differently.
I love your confidence and clarity. I'm thinking about this author, Dugald Hine. He wrote this book called At Work in the Ruins. But there's this profound idea that I've heard him talking about, which is, I mean, it could be asked as a question: how do we make good ruins?
Hmm.
Or in other words, how do we navigate the inevitable collapse of institutions and structures so that when we rebuild, that we do it in a beautiful and a good way, a true way? And I've also heard Stephen, what's his name? Stephen Jenkinson talk about how we really need to get clear that we're not doing this work for ourselves. That it's never been like that. But especially now, you know, if you're attached to this idea of having the kind of village life that you dream of and imagine, that attachment probably isn't going to help the process. It's not going to help the making of good ruins, so to say. You know, that it's for our children and our children's children. And that's part of the reason why we're here. And I think why we took birth this time is because we have the capacity, the ability, and the courage, if we're willing to cultivate it on purpose, to make good ruins. So my question to you is, how are you going to make good ruins? And also, how does this is connected, but how does your artistry, how do you imagine your artistry emanating down into the future generations?
Well, it's kind of like, you know, when someone plants a tree and knows that he'll never sit under its shade.
Yeah.
There's I mean, it's very romantic to be alive, you know?
Yeah.
There's people that they tell me, Huairita, you never write like romantic songs. And I feel they're so romantic, you know? I'm not talking to a specific man or woman, yet I'm like so in love with what is happening in my life. And I feel that, I mean, I was a very young mother, you know? I gave birth to my son when I was 20. And then when I was 23, my daughter was born.
Wow.
I'm going to be 40 in March.
Okay.
And so I have big kids. My son turned 19 on Monday. And I've seen the process with them, you know, and through my artistry and like what I've cared for and what touches them and how our relationship is. I'm like, my relationship with my kids is like so deep and so open and so true. Like since they were so little, they asked me questions and I answered what it was, you know, like there was no like in between. If that was the question, there was an answer for it. And I feel that the ruins or like I mean, of course, my music, you know, the songs that I'm giving away, and it's been interesting because I've been taking a very long time to give birth to what is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been realizing, you know, that as an artist, especially at least with music, you know, because we get to create this and give it away. And then those babies are like everywhere for everyone. And they get to be sang and repeated and praised and like do all these things. And then they come back to us, you know, and then they come back to us. And it's kind of like what Josh Ray from the Emerald podcast, he says is like the mythic body, which is like the mythic body is the oldest body that exists, you know, because it's been so repeated and so recreated and in so many languages, in so many places. And so it's very old. And the only way for us, I feel, to really recreate those ruins is by being very generous with that art, you know, because we give it and then it's been built through all of us, you know. It's not something that it's just mine. It just becomes like a service for everyone. And so I feel the way for me to like really build those beautiful ruins is by being super generous with what comes through, you know. and not think so much, even if it's perfect, if it's not, which is one of my teachings lately. I'm going to release songs that I wrote 8 years ago, and now they're sang in ceremonies and people are like everywhere. And now I'm going to actually like, okay, here it is, but they already have a body of themselves, they've already been. So yeah, I feel that is like how I'm committed to, and and I feel that if we're true, and we're like really manifesting this well-being from our sacred source of life, it's going to be there for our children, no matter what. Like I even listen to reggaeton, my daughter loves it, and I'm like, look, Bad Bunny's new album, and she laughs at me. She's like, oh, you're listening to it. I'm like, well, you listen to it, so I was curious. And I think, I mean, it's really interesting. We're like, one of the main topics of this whole lifetime is now, well, at least lately, is like connect to your inner child. They're like, it's all about bringing your inner child and like your traumas from your childhood, and I do that as a lot as a practice. I'm with my inner child. I mean, my face is on my phone all the time.
Oh, that's adorable.
And
What a
I
good
take her
photo.
with me everywhere. As soon as I go in ceremony, I bring her in. I call her
Mm,
in, and I want her super close to me.
mm,
And I mean, on a stage, I'm gonna sing, and I'm like observing what she's doing in her curiosity, and like, and I don't know. We when I see the world right now, we're not really fully putting attention to our children, and so many children are suffering.
yeah.
And it's the adults in their mind world game thing, and then we're not like being like, oh, can I what is, can I hear you, I'm curious to see what you're seeing. Can you explain to me what is this,
Yeah.
and through that innocence, we grow up being like, at least here they tell you que la curiosidad mató al gato, curiosity killed the cat, and you would grow up and they would be like, why are you asking this, as a little kid, if that doesn't intrude you? And
Mm,
they put all these things,
mhm.
and I'm a very curious person. I've been a very curious child too, and I've gotten in trouble because of it. And the
Too.
other day, my grandfather in ceremony, he said that curiosity is an aspect of humility.
Yeah.
And I feel that in order for us to really build beautiful ruins for the children to come, we have to really tap into that beautiful, humble curiosity
Yeah.
of what is really here for us to reconnect again and to remember, because when I get to be in those spaces, when I'm like, oh, what is that? And if I approach it very curious, usually there's a beautiful answer.
Mm,
Whether it's something that I might not wanted to know, but it's beautiful because
mm.
I'm questioning myself. I'm going there. So I feel that I can show up for the children as in that space of a humble curiosity in what is gonna keep coming through, in my life.
That was such a beautiful answer. Yeah. I was thinking about this recently, like, what kind of world would we have if our focus, if our main focus was on the children?
Oof,
But to me, it makes the most sense.
it
Why
does.
why wouldn't that be the most ideal orientation to living a good life? Focus on the children.
And the most profitable, even for the ones in business, it would also be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because that's it, And again, as I say, I trust. I do trust. We
Mm,
will do it, because I mean, there's no death that is going to be in vain.
mm,
When we get to witness all these little kids that are being killed, and like now in Ecuador, we're going through a really hard situation because 4 kids were like, they were taken by the military and then they disappeared and then they found them dead. And like, I've been going to the march and like standing for, because now we're in this whole military thing here in Ecuador, and I go in the streets and there's a lot of people, but why isn't there thousands of people, Why aren't we all out in rage being like, why is this happening? Why is it just the same few ones that are willing to go and like speak up? And so
So
I
why
do
why do
think
you think that is?
because we're afraid. We're
Yeah.
afraid. There's so much fear, we're like so fear-based, even in the smallest things. You fall in love with someone, yet there's a fear of
Mm.
what might happen. So I'm not going to go full on. Why not?
Mm.
Go full on. Make love as many times as you can, because you might not be able to do it in a few days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, why are we so attached? Again, the territory, what I own, what it's mine, what is no
Mm.
more. It's all given for all of us. What it's here, it can provide everyone. And
Mm.
so I feel that it actually would be an amazing, beautiful campaign, that we start just really fully going full on, and like, how do we commit to standing for the children, and
Mm.
it would definitely change this game.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be happier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's something to really wrap up in our heart cloths and carry forward in a meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
See how that might take shape. Yeah. Mm. Huaira, this has been a real gift for me, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure for all those who are tuning in with us. I really, really appreciate you being here with us today. And unless there's anything more you'd like to share, well, I know that you kind of mentioned it, but you have a new album coming out. Maybe you could share something about that. And then I would love for, if you feel comfortable with it, I would love for us to finish this conversation with you offering us all a prayer.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay.
Well, I've been working on some beautiful music for many years now. And it's interesting because some of those songs, I mean, most of my songs, if not all of them, come through ceremony when I'm drinking medicine. And so there's beautiful lyrics and beautiful melodies, and then I wanted to, like, they came, and then I wanted to, like, do certain things and produce them in certain ways, and then and now a lot of them came back to what they were. So what I decided is that I'm going to release some, like, an album that is very ceremonial in the
Mm.
way that it is, and like very raw and acoustic. And then the other tracks, and a few of them are going to be in both, and the other tracks are produced, and I'm working with Captures, who is my partner, and well, another amazing musicians. And so, because it's both worlds, if we go back to integrity, I'm all of it. I was an incredible raver, and then I found out that being in my ceremonies was best rave. Actually, I rather, drink medicine and wait for the sun, where I get to sing for the water when the sun is beaming, and it just changed, but I still get to play in big stages and festivals, and yet the medicine is coming through the music in the same way. And
Mm.
so part of it was to do this, like, all of these worlds that are within me, that I don't dismiss, but that I acknowledge, and that I enjoy, and so, yeah, it's gonna come. I'm still debating in certain things and how I want to do it, because also of certain things of the music industry, which is so weird, and that I've had certain scenarios that definitely taught me, like, okay, maybe that's not the way, like, you're giving away all of this, but then it's not being really,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, which has been a beautiful teaching. And so, yes, it's gonna come out, and so stay tuned. Hopefully, we'll hear some good news in the next few months, and I'm
Do
looking
you have
forward.
a newsletter or something that people can sign up for?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Mm,
So,
but I should.
yeah,
And yeah, that would be helpful.
remind people. Yeah.
But I'm, like, very active on Instagram, and I'm sharing my things, and I'm currently starting to work with beautiful people that are also going to support me in those spaces, because it's a lot,
Yeah.
to do it all.
Yeah.
And that was one of my callings of this year, and now it's happening. So it's going to be more organized in certain ways, and yeah, and I'm really excited for what it's going to come through. Like, I'm in my family. I'm going to share something.
Yeah.
And Mm. In my family, in the fire family, the medicine family that I walk with, the name that was given to me is Huaira Takiri, which means the one who brings the songs from the wind.
Mm.
And I've recognized the service, that it is to sing in my family. When I'm there, they all want me to sing, all the time. And then I laugh because I'm like, if you know how I'm going to behave, then why do you invite me? If I get to start singing, I'm not going to stop. And so I'm really looking forward to the moment I get to share this and to the world family. And then I'm really looking forward to the moment I get to share this with my close people, the people that have been walking by my side and supporting me in really incredible, deep, strong moments, and then I get to be like, okay, here it is, everything you've been given, now I get to do this work, and so I'm committed to the service in this world and singing, and so it's going to be there for all of you through the generosity of this beautiful ruins that we're building together.
Yeah, and we're all better off for it. That's
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Yeah.
Mm. And I would like to raise a prayer for all of us in this day. Great Spirit, giving thanks for one more day in our lives, a new opportunity, a new sun, the certainty of that gigantic fire that we're all weaved within, where we get to sit in this big ceremony, raising a prayer for our waters, the waters from within, the waters that we get to swim in, and the waters that we get to drink. Giving thanks for this air that is giving us life, for this beautiful coral reef lungs that allows us to feel alive. Sending our love from this land, from these mountains in the Andes, in Ecuador, to every corner of this earth. Acknowledging the connection to everything. Acknowledging the doubts and acknowledging what we know it's true and it's real. Giving thanks for the ones that have walked before us in order for us to be able to walk the path that we're walking in now. For the strength of the mamas and the elders and the papas and the young kids and the little babies in the womb of the mamas. May we feel protected, and may we allow ourselves to trust the path that we've chosen, the families we've chosen. And may we expand our love and our care for this life through our breath, through our artistry, through our curiosity, through our joy and our grief, through our dances. We get to do this, and we get to do it together. We're never alone. We're beating through the same heart for all our relationships. Ajo, mitakuye oyasin.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this.
Mm-hmm. It's a true pleasure.
Mm-hmm.